So, long before you could Google something, there was a search engine that pretty much invented the rules of the game. And then, well, it was mostly forgotten. Today, we're diving into the story of WebCrawler, the true pioneer that time kind of left behind. I mean, really think about it. Picture the early 90s. The internet is this new, exciting, chaotic place. If you wanted to find something specific, where would you even start? There wasn't a big friendly search bar on every page. It was a total mess, and finding your way around was, let's just say, not easy.
Yeah, people call this the web's Wild West era for a reason. It was an amazing time for creativity, sure, but it was also incredibly disorganized. Pure chaos. Okay, so here was the fundamental problem. The web was just this giant, jumbled mess of websites with no phone book, no central directory. Finding anything was literally like searching for a needle in a haystack. You had to count on these lists of links that people would put together by hand, or maybe a friend would tell you about a cool new site. But the biggest issue, the real killer, was that the few search tools that did exist could only search the titles of websites. They couldn't look at the actual information on the page.
But, that was all about to change. And like a lot of these big tech breakthroughs, the answer didn't come from some huge company with $1 billion budget. Nope, it came from a student working on a project at his university.
So our story really kicks off with this guy, Brian Pinkerton. It's early 1994, he's a student at the University of Washington, and he's just tinkering with what was supposed to be a small app for his computer. He had absolutely no idea that he was about to build something that would totally change how we use the internet. And this was the light bulb moment. Full text search. For the very first time ever, a search engine could actually read and create a map, an index of every single word on a web page. This meant you could finally look for a specific name or a weird phrase and find it, even if it was buried on page 20 of some document. It was a complete and total game changer. So, armed with this, revolutionary technology, WebCrawler wasn't going to stay a little campus project for long. It just exploded onto the scene, and its growth was, well, it was absolutely mind-blowing. Just look at how fast this thing took off. In March of '94, it's just making a simple little list of popular sites. A month later, bam, it launches for real with 4,000 websites in its database, which was a huge number back then. And by November, less than 7 months later, it had already handled its 1 millionth search. The demand was just incredible.
And here's the fantastic bit of internet history for you. You want to know what that 1 millionth search was for? Nuclear weapons design and research. Yep, it just goes to show that right from the beginning, people were using the web for some seriously heavy-duty stuff.
Actually, it got so popular, so fast, that it was kind of its own worst enemy. WebCrawler became a victim of its own success. The university servers just couldn't keep up with all the traffic. The whole thing would crash all the time during the busiest hours. Everybody was desperate to use this new tool. And by February of 1996, WebCrawler was at the absolute top of its game. It wasn't just a popular search engine, it was the #2 most visited website on the entire internet. Just let that sink in. It was a giant. But as quickly as WebCrawler climbed to the top, the world started changing around it. The dot-com boom was just starting to heat up, and this search pioneer got caught up in a crazy whirlwind of corporate buyouts.
So WebCrawler's journey just gets really chaotic from here. In '95, it gets bought by AOL, which seems like a great idea at first. But see, AOL wanted to keep you inside its own little world, its walled garden. WebCrawler was all about exploring the open web. It didn't fit. So only 2 years later, they sell it to a direct competitor, Excite. Then Excite goes bankrupt when the dot-com bubble bursts, and it gets sold again to InfoSpace, which later gets sold itself. I mean, being passed around like that made it impossible for WebCrawler to keep its identity, let alone keep innovating.
And the result of all that turbulence and all the new competition? A really fast fall from the top. Remember, it was #2 on the whole internet in early '96. Just 1 year later, it had already been pushed down the list by rivals like Yahoo, Like Us, and yep, even Excite, the company that would eventually buy it. The search engine wars had officially begun, and the first pioneer was already falling behind.
And this was pretty much the moment the original WebCrawler died. In 2001, its owner at the time, Excite, just shut down WebCrawler's unique, independent search technology, the very thing that made it special. From that day on, it wasn't really its own search engine anymore. It was just a different-looking front door for Excite's search results. The original innovation was just gone.
But hold on, that is not the end of the story. Because what's really amazing is that after all that corporate chaos, after its core tech was basically ripped out,
WebCrawler is somehow still here. It's a true survivor from a totally different era of the internet.
So today, WebCrawler lives on as one of the oldest search engine brands still out there. For years now, it's been what you call a meta search engine. That just means it doesn't have its own brain anymore. Instead, it pulls in results from other places, like Google and Yahoo. It even got a modern makeover in 2018, and it's still active, like a living piece of internet history, a little reminder of a brand that was once on top of the digital world.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this question. WebCrawler was the first to give us full-text search, a technology we totally take for granted now, but it was overtaken so quickly. What does its story really teach us about innovation? Is it more important to be the first one with the brilliant idea, or is it more important to be the best at executing it, adapting, and fighting to stay on top for the long haul? Something to think about.